Big news out of Europe that could change how ChatGPT works for everyone. If you think AI companies can just scrape whatever they want from the internet to build their bots, a German court just slammed down a massive gavel that says absolutely not. And the ripple effects are coming for us all. A Munich court has ruled that OpenAI infringed on copyright laws by training ChatGPT on song lyrics without a license. This is headline news because it's legally redefines training data. It no longer just learning, it's now considered reproducing and memorizing. This destroys the fair use defense many AI companies rely on in the US and could force them to pay billions in licensing fees, potentially changing the economics of AI forever. What do you think about this, John?
I'm kind of disappointed in OpenAI's defense. So it rested on a few key arguments, and they are all rejected by the court, by the way. So first, OpenAI suggested that the user who enters the prompt should be legally liable for any infringing output. Okay. So an argument that the court dismissed. They also argued that any reproduction was accidental or a technical error, which again is laughable. And the court countered this by stating that both the initial copying of data for training and its later reproduction require a license. I agree. And then crucially, the court set a very low threshold for what counts as infringement, ruling that even a 15-word passage could violate copyright law. So this undercuts the common defense from AI companies that their models are creating something entirely new and not just copies of the source material. And so what are your thoughts on those arguments? Like those seem like weak arguments in a court case like this, or maybe they just didn't have a leg to stand on. You're on mute.
Sorry, scoffing. Yeah, let me just expand on this compared to, say, what some of the other courts have decided. And, we can talk about this. I think this is interesting, but I don't think it's going anywhere. And I'll explain why in a bit. All right. So the court firmly rejected the black box defense. Memorizing and reproducing copyright lyrics during training and output can constitute infringement regardless of the technical mechanism involved. So that's what the German court decided. In the UK, in the Getty Images versus Stability AI case, UK court recently ruled the opposite, saying that AI models don't contain copies of images, but just mathematical weights. The German court disagrees, creating a massive legal conflict. Versus the US on Books and News, in the Authors Guild versus OpenAI, and New York Times versus OpenAI, judges are currently looking at whether AI summaries are close enough to the original to count as theft. This German ruling gives a huge ammunition to the New York Times and authors. And there's more on this. Let me just check. There's the recent ruling with Anthropic. Okay, Perplexity. So the German ruling focused on training. The sin was ingesting the data in the first place. Now, the U.S. contrast between Dow Jones, New York Post versus Perplexity, a lawsuit, it's not about training. It's about retrieval augmented generation. So again, that's the news story, right? The news publisher argued that Perplexity isn't just learning from the news, it's replacing the news by summarizing articles. So you don't need to click. So they don't have fair use everywhere. We have different rules. And the courts recently decided $1.5 billion case against Anthropic for books. Or was it OpenAI? I thought it was Anthropic. I thought it was Anthropic, but I'll look that up as we go.
Yeah.
And I saw some posts around our authors saying that you can get up to $1,500 per book back on this class action lawsuit. So there's a lot of different perspectives on there, and I'm not sure where you fall on all of that.
So for me, it comes down to they've used this data to train their models. That's that, and without paying for it. So that's where I come in. That's where I stand. Is they should have paid, even though it's available on the internet. they still should have negotiated some sort of agreement before using anything that has been created by artists or anything that's been created by someone to train their models. That's my opinion, though.
Yeah, and it is an opinion, so I'll put it in a different light, and it might not be the same, but imagine a student, in this case the AI, who claims they studied for a test, but when asked a question, they just recite the textbook word for word. So if you have a photographic memory and just go like this through the textbook and you have it all and you just recite whatever, the answer from the textbook, the court says that's not learning, that's just making an illegal photocopy of the book inside your brain. Now, I don't know if it's going to apply to humans or just to AI.
That human isn't making any money off of that test that he's studied for. Whereas OpenAI is making money off of other people's content that they've trained their models on.
And potentially taking money away from the people who wrote the original content. That's kind of, you're hurt. If they can prove that there's actual financial harm, that's where things come into play,
that's
right?
That's going to be difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it, because, things like when Google turned it off in the EU or whatever the countries was, they found it was 0.1% of traffic dropped. So it was insignificant. And so that was kind of their argument when they were going that. So we might see moving forward some things like Geofenced AI. You might start seeing this content is unavailable in your region, errors on ChatGPT, similar to Netflix or what have you, where, go to point of article or whatnot, they may not be able to summarize it for you or help you. If these companies have to pay, we're probably going to see price hikes. If they have to pay for every song, book they train, the price of ChatGPT Plus and other tools is likely going to go up to cover the bill. To avoid lawsuits, AI companies might purge their databases, meaning the AI knows less about pop culture, lyrics, and modern literature, so we might get dumber bots.
Who knows? But again, it's a catch-22 kind of thing and chicken and egg kind of thing, because how do you get these outputs without training? But again, they could have paid for it at the start, right? But anyways.
Yeah, and the courts ordered an immediate injunction, meaning OpenAI has to stop using this data now in Germany, though, they will appeal. The catch is that we're creating the splinter net of AI because different countries are ruling differently. Yeah. We might end up with fragmented internet where US users get a smart AI, users get a safe but limited AI. And if we, want to use the really good AI, we got to go to DeepSeek in China or something where they're not limited by these rules. So critics worry that this kills the little guys. Microsoft and Google can afford to pay Gemma and the New York Times billions in licensing fees, while small AI startups cannot, meaning big tech might become the only option for powerful AI. And that leads me to ask the question about downstream models. When I say downstream models, many people use the Llama models as an example and build on top of them. NVIDIA does it. Many companies do because they're open source models. Now, if any of those models are built on an open source model that was trained on any of this material, are they now liable for this?
Good point. Yeah, I don't know.
So I'm just trying to figure out how far down it affects and what the ripples are. But, as I read this and go through it, before I'm thinking it was one thing, but now, is this just becoming another moat? If you want to be a tobacco company, you got to pay millions of dollars. So only the existing tobacco company or companies with, huge pockets can get in the industry. So that's what happened with vaping. When they came along and the tobacco companies lobbied to get regulations around it, and you had to get all your stuff certified, and the certification process cost $1 million or whatever. So all the small companies shut down. You can say that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it is definitely in favor of big business. So when you start looking at this, if you want to do any of this stuff, you're going to have to pay more and pay all these people. And now all of a sudden there's a moat to join that only these multi-billion-dollar companies can, So is that strategic? Is it not strategic? I think in the end, because AI is strategically important to every government's future and every country's future, that we're going to see some countries' governments stepping in on some of this. I'm not exactly sure what that means, because at this stage, governments don't want to be last in the AI race. They don't want to be the one country that's putting all the rules on their AI and everyone else is jumping leaps and miles ahead of them because they don't have those rules. So it's a complex solution, and I am not on either side of it. I'm just saying that I'm trying to make awareness, making sure that we're watching these things, talking about all the sides, all the legal seats, so people can see it and understand what it might mean for the future of what happens. And, I could be way off about government stepping in, but you see what the US is doing with OpenAI and a few other AI. They're spending billions of dollars on those AI data centers. I really think there's if nothing else, there might be rules for thee, but not for me situation when it comes to this kind of stuff. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
So the verdict, move fast and break things, era of AI is hitting a concrete wall. Companies can no longer treat the internet like an all-you-can-eat buffet. So does this mean artists finally get their paycheck, or are we about to see AI subscriptions double in price? And even if these fines and stuff come through, will the money actually get back to the artists? Let me know your take in the comments. We'll keep tracking where the money goes. What do you got going on, John? This is the stuff that's going out in the next week or so.
Yeah, so we've got some events at the Toronto Business Development Center. I'm doing some lunch and learns in person there. It's a great organization, great incubator. And then February, what date is the Startup Drinks, Craig?
I closed that, so I'm not sure. February 19th, I believe.
February 19th, but have a look at startupdrinks.com. startupdrinksto.com for that event and other events. If you need some help with government funding, Shred, or any other grants, reach out to me on LinkedIn. But if you're interested in AI automation workflows, or you need help with your business, what can they do, Craig?
Well, we've got lots of stuff going on over at flowgrammer.ca, where we help businesses implement AI and business automation so they can scale faster and more reliable, get more leads, grow faster. We also have a growing community over at flowgrammers.ca, where we do Flowgrammer Cafe, we do live build events, we do demo events, we get the community together online and in person several times a month to show and demo and support anybody who's trying to do this, learn automation, end-to-end AI agent building. So check all that out. We have a series of events called Flowgrammer Cafe. The next one's February 6th, March 6th, and April 2nd. We do those right now in partnership with Workhouse, and those are full day drop-in headphones, laptop, and work. And we'll have some experts on site that can help you troubleshoot. And we all kind of do a little walkthrough in the afternoon about what you're working on, and show us what you're working on and stuff. And it's really cool. So check all that out over at flowgrammer.ca and flowgrammers.ca. And coming soon, and you can sign up for this now, flowgramming.space. An AI agent and workflow marketplace where people can buy and sell agents or workflows. So if you're building agents and don't know what to do with them, where to sell them, go over there and check that out. Again, flowgramming.space. Or if you're building workflows, or if you want agents or workflows built, you can go over there and buy them. We have some interesting guarantees, and it's coming soon, so you can get your name on the waiting list right now. That's all we got going on, John. For everything else, go to torontostarts.com. I don't even think I mentioned it that whole time. Thanks everyone for watching. All the information about CES, and these interesting things. Any last words, John?
No. Check out our next episode. We're going to be talking about the weird stuff at CES. So,
all right, everyone. Thanks for watching.